Right, good morning, welcome back. Now, my apologies first of all if this is not the video that you expected. I did promise you a ride out on the road, but shakedown runs are for a good reason. So I set everything up, double checked everything, and went out for a final ride around the block to make sure everything was safe and sound, nothing leaked, rattled or fell off. Hit a pothole about 2 inches deep, little short one, big sharp crack on the front suspension, and something started clattering straight away. Didn't know what it was, pulled over, had a good look around the bike, and this is what I found. Right, both the brackets that came welded to the top of this oil cooler have sheared clean off with the impact. Just a nasty thump down that pothole is all it took to snap them free. Now, they were an unknown quantity. I had nothing to do with those. They came welded to it. This oil cooler was a very kind gift from a very generous viewer, and I want to use it. I absolutely love it. Took a lot of time to make the steel brackets, and it's only my steel brackets that stopped me dragging it up the road by its oil lines and absolutely trashing it. And as it's now perfectly okay, and I saved it, all I've got to do is fix those back on. Now I've got those alley welding rods, and all of that is aluminium. So I reckon I can fix that. So let's take it off, drain it out, clean it up, and see how we get on. Wish me luck. Right, there we are. That has fully prepared what was once glued on to be this time, hopefully, soldered on. Now, I'm going to use these alley welding rods. Welding is a bit of a misnomer. We've covered all that in the big video. They're kind of like soft solder, but they're very, very strong when they're done properly. £2 hammer to break that test piece, remember. So these should be absolutely fine. I was thinking maybe to drill through the bottom and plug down through with a little bit more heat, but I don't think I need to, because they go on nice tight click fit, as you can hear, and one bead either side, nice and thick, should definitely do the job. Now this stuff is 1mm thin sheet aluminium. Loads of experience of heating that with the Bright project. The Wasteland tail, I made all of that out of 1mm sheet. It's easy to heat up very quickly. This stuff, however, is 2mm thick and in places a little bit thicker. It's also kind of box section, so that's going to take longer. I think the name of the game is to focus the heat on the bracket and let that heat purge down or wick down into the aluminium, get the whole thing up to temperature nice and safely without overheating it, and then get these rods melting in there nicely. Lots of preparation with a stainless brush, make a nice clean joint, and hopefully this time they won't break off when I hit a pothole. Right, still hot to the touch, 45 minutes later. Now, I don't know whether those joints got up to temperature enough to be a good strong joint. I'm not sure. It's difficult to tell because as much as there's plenty of solder in there and it's solid and they don't feel like they're going anywhere, you just can't be sure under shock and impact whether they'll hold. And also remember, playing the blowtorch on there, this is a cooling device. All these millions of little veins in here, they're doing their job to drag all that heat away and just cool it. All the heat's dissipating. It's really hot in here and the bench top's hot as well. So that's done a great job of taking all the heat out of where I needed it, and there's no other way to do it. So I'm not sure whether I got them up to temperature enough to make a really solid joint. Just in case I didn't, I'm going to lock wire them in place as well. Lock wiring is something that's really cool. You do it on the race bikes, you do it on your sump plug, your caliper bolts, all sorts of things on a race bike are lock wired so that if they come loose, they don't part company with the motorcycle. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with this. A little bit of lock wire, pass it through the matrix, nice and thin, goes through gently, there it is, comes out the other side, and lock wire it through the bracket 3 or 4 times on both sides, so there'll be half a dozen pieces of lock wire holding it in place. So if these ever do break free, then this will stay with me all the way back to the garage so I can do something about it. So once that's fully cooled down, I'll stick the lock wire through, paint it black and put it on. Let's keep going. Right, there we are, all bolted up, oil topped up, everything correct. Now, whether or not that cooler was possible to heat up enough to make good secure solder joints on there remains to be seen. In the test video for that product, a £2 hammer it took to break them off. But whether a pothole will break them straight off, we won't know until I take it out on the road. And they're lock wired nice and safe, so it's not going anywhere if it does break them. And then if you bring it back, take it off, put the standard one back on. Now, I'd really rather not put the factory one back on. As you can see, it's a right mullet old thing, but it ain't leaking. It all bolts back on. It just needs a good clean up and a flush out, and at least I can have something so I can ride the bike. But I really want to use that if I can. So that'll be the next video. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We can also check that brace to see if that holds the camera still. I'll take you along for the ride. Take it easy, you ride safe, and I'll see you next time.